Hey everyone, it's Wingspan TT, and if you're watching, you know what time it is. It's time for Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013. Now, I'm not actually playing Duels of the Planeswalkers, but I've spoken to Wizards of the Coast, and they've given me and Top Tier Tactics an exclusive world preview into two of the decks that are coming out for Duels of the Planeswalkers. That's right, it's DLC 2 for Duels of the Planeswalkers, and we're going to be looking at two decks today in two separate videos, so you will have to jump to the other one. This is going to be the Boros deck. The Boros Legion is the red-white guild in Ravnica. They're the law, they're the mercenaries, they're the people that keep everyone else in line, well, at least what they view as in line. And this deck is called Act of War, and I'm in tappedOut.net, which is a great resource if you're trying to build a deck, if you're trying to see what cards you need, and if you want to learn about cards. And tappedOut.net, allows you to sort cards and shows you card costs, your mana curve, all that stuff, how much it would cost to build a deck in real life. But let's go through the cards. I'm going to talk about generally what I think about the cards, what the interactions are going to be, and what you can expect from this deck when it hits. And there is no official release date yet, but I'm just going to guess it's going to be, end of the year, getting ready for Gatecrash, which comes out at the end of January. So don't be surprised if this comes out sometime between December and January in order to be prepping for the pre-release for Gatecrash. So in general, Boros is all about war, all about battle. Red and white are both like really fighting kind of colors, even clash with each other. And it's kind of reflected with the cards that are in this. So we have Benelish Veteran. He's a 3-mana 2/2 human soldier. Whenever he attacks, gets +1/+1 till end of turn. I'm sorry, you can't really see here. Yes, here you go. 3 mana. Not a great card. This is probably what you're going to want to cut right away. 3 mana for a 2/2 that becomes a 3/3. Not so great. On the other hand, Boros Guild Mage, split mana, 2 red or 2 white, or 1 red and 1 white, 2/2 creature. And then you can give any creature that you control haste or first strike. Not game breaking, but certainly powerful. There's no reason to not have a 2/2 body on the board on turn 2. And you can speed up your game a little. You can give yourself combat advantage where necessary. Or even playing a multiplayer game. You're playing a 4-player game or 2-headed giant. You can give your teammates creatures haste. You can barter with other players, piss them off, and interrupt battle in the middle of battle. Give other people's creatures first strike and ruin their battle calculations. It's great. Boros Recruit, it's this Goblin Soldier, just a 1/1 with first strike, but you can cast him with red or white, so you cannot get screwed on the first turn. No matter what land you have, you can cast him first turn. Boros Swiftblade, this goes back to the original Ravnica deck set, and you have 1 red, 1 white. It's a 1/2 double strike, so he hits for 2, but if you can enchant him, he hits for a lot more. He's functionally a 2/2 for 2, but of course if you can get him bigger, which there are definitely ways to do that in this deck, you can swing for a lot of nasty damage. Double strike is so powerful. There's a good reason you don't see double strike on a lot of cards, and it's a very red-white ability, double strike. We had Bull Ceridon. I believe Bull Ceridon was also in the red-white deck before in, I don't know if it's original Duels of Planeswalkers, I believe, not Duels 2012. This was in there, very nasty for 6, 5/5 Vigilance and Haste. Firemane Angel, this is an interesting one. 6 mana for 4/3 Angel, flying in first strike. And then if it's in play or if it's dead, although not exiled, you gain 1 life every turn. So you play this, the next turn you gain 1 life. It gets killed, you gain 1 life. And then if it ever dies, you could pay, this is admittedly a lot, 10 mana to bring it back to the battlefield for free, but you have to do it during your upkeep. Now I'm a little interested to know how that works in Duels of Planeswalkers, because right now there is no automatic pause of abilities during your upkeep unless there's like a draw or unless something else is on the stack. So I don't know how it's implemented, or if it's just going to trigger every turn and then you have the option of whether or not to pay for it. Like if the game just senses you have 10 mana and asks you if you want to do it. Flamekin Zealot, 4 for a 2/2, but when it comes into play, creatures you control gain haste and +1/+1, including this. So the first turn you play is a 3/3 haste, and all the other creatures get lit up. So this could be useful. You can play it, if you played the Recruit on turn 1, you played this guy turn 2, you played another one of these guys on turn 3, and then you get the Flamekin Zealot. You would have a lot of damage that you could do. Very nasty. Hammerfist Giant, 6 for 5/4. You can tap and deal 4 damage to each creature without flying at each player. To me, this seems out of place in the deck, although there are some flyers. This seems more like a control kind of card. This is something you would put in more of a control deck or a very flying heavy deck. And while there are some flyers, there's some angels, there's a couple other ones, but there's not enough flyers. I really feel that this is a good inclusion, since most of your other creatures are on the ground and they are going to get hurt by this big time. So whatever. Light Wielder Paladin, 5 for 4/4, first strike. Alright, fine. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may exile target black or red permanent that player controls, including enchantments, technically including artifacts and planeswalkers and stuff, but that's not really an issue. So light wielder paladin, I don't know, I could go either way on this. This really depends on if you see a lot of black and red, people are playing Grinning Malice and stuff, this would be pretty cool, just to fuck them up, to force them to block, and they're going to block in a bad position because it's a 4/4 first strike. Mentor the Meek, you probably know this one, 3 for a 2/2, whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield, under your control, you may pay 1, and if you do, draw a card. So there's a couple of ways you can see building this deck. You can definitely use a lot of like low casting cost creatures like this stuff. Drop in Mentor of the Meek, and there are, you know, there's another Mentor of the Meek into the unlocks. We'll get to unlocks in a little bit. I put them in sideboard just so we can talk about that. But this is a card generating machine, a card advantage generating machine. Really cool. Definitely, I think should be included in most builds unless you're going for more of a control build. You could go for control with a lot more removal, with stuff like this giant, and then a couple of air finishers. That's definitely viable. Here we have a great air creature, one red, 1 white, 2/2 flying haste. There's nothing else to say. It's absolutely great to drop on turn 3. Sun Home Enforcer 4 for a 2/4. It's got lifelink and it's got a really shitty pump spell. I wouldn't play this card. Would not play it. You got better things to do on turn 4. Veteran Armor, 2 for 2/2, and then other creatures you control get +0/+1. This is interesting because it's easy to cast. It only requires 1 white mana. You get a couple of these in play, and now all of your creatures are a little bit more hardy. What's cool is you could get a couple of these in play, and then use the giant, and then they could survive the 4 damage. So there is that possibility, but you know, it's just an efficient creature. Let's look at some of the other spells, alright? We got Lightning Helix. This is a perennial favorite. Alright, 1 red, 1 white. And deal 3 damage to target creature or player, you gain 3 life. There's nothing else to say about it. It's just so efficient. You can just burn down creatures, you can finish off opponents, you gain life. Someone's like, oh, I'm going to kill you, here's the exact damage I need to kill you. Nope! Here's some damage to your face, you gain some life instead. This is so great, and there are, I believe, several of them in the unlocks. Lightning Helix, yep, there's at least 2 more. There might be another one, I didn't look real quick. So you can definitely fill your deck with these. Every deck should have these. You can remove blockers and swing at your attackers. You can remove attackers and just have a control element. Absolutely cool. And it's great as control because if you want to build a control deck where you're just kind of stalling until you get like late game finishers like that Angel, you know, you can kill off an attacker and undo the damage that the attacker did to you last turn. So really cool. Rally the Righteous, I love this. 1 red, 1 white, Radiance, which means whatever you target with this, it also targets every other creature that has similar colors, okay? Untap target creature, and it gets +2/+0, so that's great. You cast this on 1 creature, it's a cool combat trick. But let's say you attack, they declare blockers, they didn't block your creatures, right? Then after they declare that they're not blocking, you cast this, all of a sudden all your creatures untap so they can block next turn, and they get +2/+0. Or maybe you tap out because you don't need lethal damage or something, they attack you, right? And then you're like, psh, no man, I'm going to rally all the righteous people, which is everyone on my whole side. You target one of your guys who's both red and white, so it untaps everyone, and then you have awesome blockers, and if they have first strike, that +2/+0 is going to hurt all the much more. Just going to do it. I love this card, 2 Arms, even though I don't actually like what it does, just because it's one of the few Magic cards that actually has punctuation in the name, so it's not just, this card is not technically 2 arms, it's 2 arms! Alright, so you got that going for you. Again, this is a cool combat trick. Untap all creatures you control, draw a card. Some of your creatures have Vigilance, so it's not really going to affect them, but it does replace itself with instant draw a card. Not bad at all. You draw this late game, you need something else, just cast it right away, and then draw, see what you got top of the deck. Breath of Fury, 4. This is a really complicated card. It's an enchantment that you put on one of your creatures. Whenever your creature deals combat damage to a player, so if you attack with a creature and it's not blocked, you have to sacrifice that creature. You move Breath of Fury onto another one of your creatures, and then all your creatures untap and you get to attack again. So basically, if you can get a creature through, you can get and just keep attacking. You could just sacrifice all your creatures and attack like 5 times in a row. Like you got 5 creatures, you attack with 5 1/1s, they take 5 damage. You sacrifice your 1/1, move this on to another one. You attack for 4, now they take 9 damage, and you sacrifice a creature. You attack for 3, 2, 1. Obviously, it depends if they have any blockers. This is a really interesting card. So, you know, whether or not it works out really depends on if you can remove their blockers. And just putting this on a creature, though, will force them to block your creature because they really probably don't want you to be able to attack like 5 times in a row. So really interesting. Phase Fetters, this is just like Arrest, except when you play it, you gain 4 life, and you can cast it on permanent. So you could cast this on something like Panoptic Mirror. It's enchant permanent. So yeah, oh no wait, Panoptic Mirror is during upkeep. Never mind. Okay, well, you could cast it on Panoptic Mirror after they play it, but before they imprint something, and prevent them from imprinting. But anyway, it could shut down. It could technically shut down enchantments if they have activated abilities too, which is very rare, but it is possible. But you could just cast it on enchantment just to gain life. Again, 4 mana. It's a little rough. I don't know if it's worth it, but there's not that much other ways for this deck to deal with enchantments and artifacts. So there you go. Glory of the Wayfarer, Warfare. Oh, sorry, Glory of Warfare. Enchantment. So basically, it's when you're attacking, your creatures get more offense. When they're blocking, they get more defense. That's all there is to it. Really cool. It's cool because it also protects your creatures from burn, because they get more defense on your opponent's turn. This is great in multiplayer matches like Plane Chase and just regular free-for-all, because it's not your turn a lot of the time. So your creatures are protected for like up to 3 other turns at a time. Very cool. We have Terramorphic Expanse to fix your mana colors to get more land. And no, I didn't skip Bright Flame, but Bright Flame is so cool it deserved a little bit more detail. Bright Flame, X, 2 red and 2 white. So that means it's 4 and then X. So if you pay 9, X is 5. If you pay 5, X is 1. Alright? And it's Radiance. Bright Flame deals X damage to target creature, and each other creature shares a color with it, and then you gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. So let's say your opponent has 3 green creatures, and you Bright Flame for 2. So basically, if you target 1 green creature, okay, all their other green creatures take 2 damage. So you do 6 damage and you gain 6 life. So that would mean that you pay 6 mana, you deal 2 damage to each of the creatures, and you gain 6 life. But if it's a multiplayer game, you play this, it's going to be disastrous. You play it on some multicolored creature. Keep in mind that this could all backfire. If they're playing red or white creatures, it's going to damage your creatures too, but you're still going to gain the life. And Bright Flame is very notorious for being really powerful in EDH/Commander, but it's still powerful here just to have this X damage spell, to have a late game ability. And keep in mind that this is also powerful because you can get around creatures that have Shroud or Hexproof. So let's say they have a blue creature that has Hexproof. You know what I'm talking about. So they have another blue creature that doesn't have Hexproof. So you can target Bright Flame on their blue creature that does not have Hexproof, and then Bright Flame will spread the damage to creatures that do have Hexproof. So very powerful in that regard. It's a little expensive, but the expense is worth it. Now let's look at the unlocks. Now there are no promo cards, or if there are promo cards, there probably are. Wizards of the Coast didn't share them with me, but I want to look at the unlocks, and we have every unlock here in the order I believe that you unlock them. First we have Lightning Serpent. You might remember this from Cloudburst from Duels 2012. It's X and 1 red. It's a 2/1 trample creature at haste, and then you can pay X as much as you want to make it huge. I don't think it really fits into this deck. I wouldn't play it. But if you're looking for a finisher, it's definitely very good at that. It will do a lot of damage. But to me, something like Bright Flame or Lightning Helixes are just better for direct damage. Storm Herd. Wow, this card's funny. 10 mana. 10 mana. How many games do you actually get 10 mana out? Put X 1/1 white Pegasus creature tokens flying onto the battlefield. X is your life total. So you're 15 life, you get 15 Pegasus tokens, which will all promptly die to Chandra's Fury. Again, 10 mana. This doesn't instantly win you the game. It's very possible you could get to 10 mana and only have like 5 life left, and then you're going to pay 10 mana for 5 1/1 tokens. It doesn't seem like it's worth it, but it is hilarious. If you manage to get to like 30 or 40 life or something, this is a game-changing card. It's a game-changing card no matter what, but it's expensive. This guy's name, Agras Kos, Wojek Veteran. He's 5 for 3/3 creature, legendary creature. You know what? I just didn't feel like this guy's that great. When he attacks red creatures you control, get +2/+0. White creatures get +0/+2. I guess it includes himself, so when he attacks, he becomes a 5/5. That means best case scenario, a guy you paid 5 for is 5/5. Your other creatures get pumped 2, and yes, they can pump guys like the Boros Swiftblade, so he would deal 6 damage with double strike. But in general, I don't know, general, get it? He's like a general. He's leading your battle. He's leading your army. I could go either way on this guy. He's pretty interesting, but I feel like there's other better finishers in the deck, you know, including Bull Ceradon. The Firemane Angel at least has evasion and first strike, so she's got that going for her. We got 2 more Lightning Helixes. We got another Rally the Righteous, another Sky Knight Legionnaire. No, it's not Skylight. Doesn't keep you safe at night. Only during the day, really. Aggravated Assault. This is an interesting, another interesting card. So 3 mana for an enchantment, and then for 5 mana you can untap all creatures you control. And then after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So basically, you have to play this when you can play a sorcery. So as long as you have mana, you can keep getting to attack. So let's say you have 5 mana, you can attack twice in one turn. You have 10 mana, you can attack 3 times in one turn. It's absolutely insane. I don't necessarily think this is the best card, but it certainly will turn the tide of battle. If you can get a situation where you have even the smallest lead on your opponent, activating this is just going to demolish them. So it's at least very fun. This is one of those fun cards, like the same thing like Panoptic Mirror, people complain about, but it's not easy to necessarily get a win with that. Like, you need to make it to like turn 6 or so. You need the mana, you need the cards. The same thing with this. This is not easy to win with, but when you get this to go off and just absolutely trample over your opponent, it's going to feel really good. Next we got Breath of Life, and I'm actually really surprised to see this in this deck. I didn't really think Wizards would want to promote the white resurrection spells that used to be, look, this is from Magic 7th edition. This used to be something that was more common to white Magic, and now you only really see cards that bring dead creatures to life in black. But it used to be mostly in black with a little in white. And Breath of Life, with no downside whatsoever, brings target creature card from your graveyard to play. Now it has to be your graveyard, but hey, this is absolutely great. Absolutely great. We have Fire at Will. Really cool removal spell. 3, it's split for red and white. It deals 3 damage, divided as you choose, so it's like Arc Lightning, only it's an instant, and you can cast it with any combination of mana you want, but it has to be attacking or blocking creatures. You can't just do it to creatures who are just hanging around doing nothing. You can't do it at the end of your opponent's turn. It has to be done during combat. That said, very cool, absolutely very cool. Just don't make the mistake of declaring attackers and then immediately trying to cast Fire Will, because there won't be any legal targets except your own creatures. You have to wait for your opponent to declare blockers first. Let's see here, Nobilis of War. So it's 5 mana, split red and white the whole way, 3/4 flying. So I already love this, 3/4 flying split mana. You can cast this, you can never get mana screwed, and it's so important. People complain so much about getting colored screwed in this game, but they don't do anything about it. This is a card you need to consider, the cards with the split mana cost. Attacking creatures you control get +2/+0. So whenever this thing attacks, it's got evasion. It's going to be a 5/4 flying for 5. Sound familiar? Alright? And all your other creatures get bigger too. Really cool, definitely include this. Rise of the Hobgoblins is just goddamn weird. This card is so weird. 2 mana enchantment. When it comes into play, you can pay X, and if you do, you get X 1/1 Goblin Soldier. So it doesn't have X in the casting cost, which to me is bizarre, but you could pay X as an option. Then if you want, you can give your creatures first strike until end of turn. To me, that seems kind of dumb. I don't really see what the point of this is. I feel like Boros Guildmage is a lot better of a card. This does have the advantage of not being able to be removed, and if you get this late game, it's great. If you get early game though, like are you going to really play this on turn 3 for just 3 mana and get a 1/1 guy, and then every now and then you could pay mana to give it first strike, or the rest of your creatures first strike? So I'm not really a big fan, but again, it could be fun. It could be fun. Scourge and the Nobilis. So first we saw Nobilis of War, and look, if you look in her hand, she has a Scourge. So now let's see what this weapon is that she's wielding. 2 and 1 red or 1 white, so split red-white. 3 for enchantment aura. So as long as the creature's red, it gets +1/+1 in fire breathing. As long as it's white, it gets +1/+1 as lifelink. So if you place a red and white creature, it gets +2/+2 lifelink, and you can pump it with red or white mana. Absolutely insane. You know, I think Wizards has done a really good job in the last couple of blocks making auras better. You know, in my day, with the exception of Rancor and a couple other very scant few auras were really bad. I mean, they weren't even called auras at the time, but you know what I mean. Nowadays, I feel like Wizards is making auras that are worth playing, and this is one of them. This is really cool, definitely include it. This is going to give you huge advantage. You drop this on that double strike guy, and it's game over. It is absolutely game over if they can't deal with him. Spite Mare. So you see Nightmare, now it says evil, equally evil, red and white cousin, 4 for 3/3, and whenever he's dealt damage, he deals that much damage to target creature or player. So if he blocks a 1/1, he gets to deal 1 damage to whatever you want. He blocks a 10/10 creature, assuming he's not trampled, he gets to deal 10 damage to whatever you want. I think it's I could go either way on it. It really depends on the matchup. You're playing against a matchup like Crosswinds, this card's gonna be useless. You're playing against a matchup like you know, any of the green decks, any of the white decks, this could be really powerful. You block a Johnny's Pridemate with this, it's a 6/6, there's going to be some pain. Absolute pain. We got 2 more Bull Ceradons here, another Glory of Warfare. Here's a really, really cool card, Intimidation Bolt, and this is just dripping in flavor. I just feel like there's not enough cards that have flavor in Magic the Gathering. Intimidation Bolt, 1/1 red, 1 white, instant, deal 3 damage to target creature, and then other creatures can't attack this turn. So your opponent is about to attack you for lethal damage, even if you don't kill the creature. So when the timer is ticking down, before they attack, you pause the game, you Intimidation Bolt, maybe kill one of the creatures, maybe not, maybe just deal 3 damage to it, maybe you finish it off with Lightning Helix. Now they can't attack this turn. That's absolutely brutal. It's absolutely hilarious. And keep in mind it's this. It doesn't say other creatures that player controls can't attack this turn. It says other creatures can't attack this turn. So use this in Two-Headed Giant. Your opponent and your opponent's ally can't attack this turn when you use it. It's absolutely powerful. Something you got to consider. Next up, we got Sunblasts Angel, and this is one of my favorite angels of all time. One of the greatest angels of all time. 2 white for 4/5 flying. When it comes into play, destroy all tapped creatures, and your opponent just thinks they're so smart, tapping out, attacking you with all the creatures, and then you're like next turn like, I'm sorry, I just destroyed all of them because she came in like, let the sun shine, let the sunshine come in and burn your army now. Alright, I just mangled that. Anyway, you get the idea. Sunblast Angel, so nasty. You gotta include this. Plus 4/5 flying. Nasty. Absolutely nasty. Solid Strobe, I've never been a fan of this. It's just 1 red, gives a creature double strike. This could be good on something like Sunblast Angel. You're essentially paying 1 red to gain an extra 4 damage. But in general, because it's a sorcery, just no one's going to fall for it. So unless you get this on a creature flying, it's just really not going to do that much. It's just going to give, and your creatures don't have trample. So again, it just doesn't give, they're just going to chump your creature. And therefore you're trading a Solid Strobe maybe for a creature for chumps. So I don't know. We have Cassandra, Battle Sir, bam. Her name is Basandra because ba-boom, va-va-va-boom. I mean, look at her. 5 for 4/4 flying. Now here's the thing. Basandra, I think you're gorgeous. I think you're beautiful, honey. You can go all the way to the runway, okay? But you just don't fit this deck because you have the ability that says players can't cast spells during combat, and like half the spells in this deck are like spells you'd want to cast during combat. So I've never liked Basandra as an actual card. I think she is drop-dead gorgeous. You know, as far as redheads go, great. She's got the whole Battle Angel thing going on. But the fact that she stunts the #1 tool you have, which is to cast instants during combat, to me is a no-go. Yes, target creature attacks this turn if able. Yeah, that's great. You could you know, get your enemy's creatures to come at you, bro, and then you can block them. But I wouldn't include Basandra. Nothing personal, Basandra. Please return my phone calls. We got another Mentor of the Meek, and then here is a fatty you're gonna love. You guys are gonna love this. All right. The last card that I had to reveal is Bailfire Dragon. 7 mana for 6/6 flying. Already great. 7 mana for 6/6 flying. It's expensive, but it is worth it because look at what it does. Whenever Bailfire Dragon deals combat damage to a player, which means whenever it attacks because it's 6/6 and flying, and you can remove blockers with your Lightning Helixes, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. So if this guy gets through, just totally vanilla, your opponent takes 6, all of their creatures take 6. Doesn't matter if they're Shroud, or Hexproof, or anything like that. Boom, 6 damage to their face. You buff this guy with any power toughness buffs, you do 10 damage to them, 10 damage to all their creatures. I mean, it's game over. This guy swings, it's game over. So anyway, guys, I absolutely love this deck. There are some cards in here that I wouldn't run, but hey, there's cards in every deck I wouldn't run. I think they did a great job. Wizards of the Coast did a great job capturing the white-red battle army, like Go army, like Semper Fi, whatever you want to go here. Just running in, burninating everything with Bright Flames and Lightning Helixes, getting your nasty creatures in, gaining some life, and going in for the kill.